Hey everyone, this is Dimitri with Star Moment Photography. Welcome to my first video of 2021. So I hope you guys had a really good and festive New Year's Day. So guys, so 2021, we made it. We made it through the year of hell of 2020. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen for this year. We're going to make this the best year yet for my photography as well as me personally. So for this video today, I just wanted to kind of take you through what it is that I shoot with in terms of wedding photography. So I'm going to take you on a tour through my wedding photography bag, and so we can see exactly what it is I shoot with, what I use each lens for what parts of the day of the wedding, and I just want you guys to kind of see what it is I do a little bit, give you a little glimpse into my workflow. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first item that we're going to take a look at, before we even get into any of the gear, we're going to look at the bag itself. So if we look here, the first thing, so I carry all my gear in this. This is the Low Pro Tactic 450 AW. So the AW stands for all weather. So it has a ton of different features. So like, for example, if you look right here, it's got this very nice padded back, so it's very comfortable to wear for long periods. It's also got this breathable mesh material. And as you can see here also, it's got all these different little like straps here so you can strap a whole number of different attachments to this bag. So I can stick flashes on here. I can put extra lens pouches. I can put a whole lot of different things on this bag. And also, you hear that? Like this is a very solid, sturdy bag as well. Like it can take a pounding, as you can hear there. So that's what I use to carry my stuff in. Matter of fact, right now, with the amount of gear I currently have, it's actually starting to run out of space. So I'm actually going to be on the market for a new bag later on this year once I acquire a couple of more lenses that I need. But so the first bits of gear that I want to talk about is what I'm shooting with right now. So I'm using the Canon EOS R, which is my main camera body. It's a mirrorless camera. It was Canon's actual first try at a full frame mirrorless, and let me tell you, like, when it first came out, people were like discrediting it. They were like, saying, oh, it's not a great wedding camera. It's only got one card slot. It doesn't do this. It doesn't. But I've proven them wrong. Like, I have shot several weddings on this camera as the main camera for the event, and it has proved itself very, very capable. Its autofocus is spot on. It's very silent when I need it to be, especially during ceremonies, and it's just very quick on the draw. So the EOS R, excellent camera. 30 megapixels is great for resolution. So if I need to print any big prints for couples or any other clients, it does the job. It gets it done properly. And then the lens that I'm filming this video with is the RF 24-70 f2.8. So this lens right here is many wedding photographers' bread and butter lens. Like many wedding photographers, they will tell you that if they had to shoot with one lens for a wedding, it would be this lens, because it's so versatile. It goes from 24 all the way to 70 millimeter. That takes you from a nice, decent wide angle range all the way to a mid telephoto range. So it gets you a lot of coverage. You can get many different shots on this lens without ever having to switch. So it's a very, very effective tool that many wedding photographers have in their kit. And honestly, for me, I have to agree with them. It's such a great lens. It's so useful. In a lot of typical family shots, I will use this lens because I can just go, I can switch the focal length as needed for depending on the size of the family. And so for me, what I intend to use this lens for weddings for this year, this is going to be, you know, used during the ceremony. It's going to be used during the reception, when, especially like when I need to get wider group shots and what have you, or if I want to get a little bit wider coverage than what my other lenses will give. So I'll be using it for that, as well as during the family sessions when I need to get the, you know, like the bride's family, the groom's family, the families together, and so on and so forth. It'll be very, very useful for that. And just anything generally in between that I think that this lens would fit the bill with. It's just that versatile. I can use it for anything. So the next lens that we have in my bag, well, I'll do a little bit of a combination, lens and camera. So I shoot with 2 cameras for any wedding. And so my backup camera, which actually started out as my main camera, is this beast here, which is the 5D Mark IV. This was my very first full frame camera. It's a DSLR. And let me tell you guys, this camera, it's a beast. It's been a trooper for the past, I believe I've had this lens now almost 6 years now. This camera has been a true workhorse. I'm going to be sad to let it go when I do upgrade, because I am planning to upgrade from this body to the R5. But it's got 30 megapixels again, so it's great for resolution and when I need to print. It's got plenty of resolution when I need to crop images. And it's quick to snag focus. I do miss having eye autofocus on this camera, which is one of the reasons why I'm switching to an all mirrorless setup. That eye autofocus is very useful, especially for like when the bride is walking down the aisle, or doing the portrait session before the bride and groom, or anything where I just need to get critical focus on the subject's eye. So that is my second body. And then the lens that I use as my this is probably I will arguably say my most used lens for weddings, and that is the 70-200 f2.8. So this monster of a lens, I shoot roughly 85% of the wedding with. So I'll use this during the ceremony, during the reception, especially when I want to stand a bit farther back and I don't want to intrude on like the bride and groom during the reception or the ceremony, so I don't encroach and I don't block anyone's view, because that effective zoom range is very, very useful for those types of shots. And I'll also use it for some of the portrait sessions as well, when like, let's say if I'm in an area where like the background is not so super pleasing, so I just want to blur that background out, I'll use this lens. Or if I want that extra compression that some of my other lenses won't be able to give, I'll use this lens for that. And then for the reception, again, it's also very useful, like, you know, if I'm trying to stand a little bit farther back so I'm not intruding on, like, say, like the first dance or things of that nature. It's a very, very versatile lens to have for wedding photography. And it's built like a tank as well. Like, this is all metal construction. The only thing that I would complain about is that it is a very heavy lens, especially now that I'm switched over to a mirrorless setup. I am going to be switching this lens up for the RF 70-200 version because it's much lighter than this. So that'll be something that I'll be switching over to in the future. So look forward to that when I do get that lens, and I'll do a review and an unboxing of that. So if we move on, if we open up the bag here, we'll go ahead and see what else I have in this kit. So next lens that I use is this, the RF 50mm 1.2. So this lens I use mostly for the getting ready shots. So I'll use this, like, you know, like if I'm in the bride in the bride's room where she's getting ready, or if I'm in the groom's room where he's getting ready, and I'll just use those to get like very natural lit, candid shots, because that 1.2 lets in all the natural light so I can capture the ambiance of the location where they're shooting. So I'll typically avoid using flash during those shots unless it's absolutely necessary. necessary. So I use it for that. I also use it for shots during the ceremony where I want to capture that natural perspective of the human eye. And I also use it for the couple portraits as well, when we're like out in an area where it's golden hour and it's a nice backlit portrait. I want that soft, warm light, and I'll use flash to light them. It's a very, very great lens for those type of shots. And also, it's also useful for during the reception. If you're in a very dimly lit reception area and you don't want to use too much flash, this lens will do the job. Like 1.2 lets in a lot of light, so it's very useful. And again, also for the ceremony venue, if you're shooting like in a dark church that doesn't allow flash, very useful for that. My next lens is probably one of my bread and butter lenses. So this is the EF 85mm 1.4. So this lens has been my bread and butter portrait lens. I use this exclusively for portraiture. I'll use this like, you know, for the bride's portraits, the first look, the bride and groom shots, you know, you name it, anything portrait related, I will use this lens for that. So again, this is made for the DSLR line, so I will be upgrading this to the RF 85 1.2, so look out for that as well later on this year once I'm able to upgrade. So the last lens that I currently have that I use for the weddings is the EF 100mm macro lens at f2.8. So this lens I use only for the detail shots. I'll use this like, you know, for the wedding rings, for the shoes, for like any details on the bride's dress, or I'll use it for, you know, like invitations, things like that. So I will use it exclusively for those things. So I don't pull this out very often. It's only during those times, and that's usually before the ceremony. After that, it never gets taken out again. But it's still a very useful lens to have. It's also makes a good portrait lens if you're in a pinch, because it offers the nice flattering compression, and you can get really good close-ups of like the bride if she has like really well done makeup, if she wants to, because for a wedding you want to show off all those extra details, so it's good for that as well. And then I also shoot with 2 speed lights. The first one here is the Flashpoint Zoom Lithium Ion X R2. So you'll notice that it's different from other flashes. It's got the round head, so it allows me to use MagMod modifier, so I can just use magnetic clips to clip on modifiers onto this round head, which will allow me to soften the light or modify the light, or, you know, even change the color of the light if I put on like color filters or color gels and whatnot. So it's very useful for that. It's got a pretty good power output as well, so I'll use that on my EOS R. And then the other flash I have, which was my first flash, which is the Zoom Lithium Ion R2, the original version, which it's the standard typical flash, but it's still highly useful. And one of the best things I like about these two flashes is that because they're all part of the Flashpoint R2 system, I can just use the R2 trigger, which I'll put that on one camera, and I can put all of these on like off-camera flash stands, and I can trigger them all from the camera, and I don't have to use any like line of sight or infrared. They're all radio controlled, so they're highly useful when I need off-camera flash, you know, coverage and whatnot. So. And then I'm also using one of my strobes to light this video, which is the Godox 8600, which is it's got 600 watt-seconds of power, which is a very, very powerful flash. I use this like if I'm out in like midday and I want to overpower the sun, so it'll create that very, very natural light look. So it's highly useful for those situations. I don't typically use that strobe for indoors unless it's a very, very dark venue, and even then I'll typically bounce it. Like if it's like a venue that has a white roof, I'll bounce the flash off of that white surface to illuminate the area. So So that is pretty much what I use for my wedding photography kit. I will be adding one other lens to this lineup for my wedding photography, and that's going to be the RF 15 to 35 millimeter f2.8 zoom. And the reason I want to add this lens is because I do not have any ultra wide angle coverage, which for, you know, establishing shots, like, you know, shots of like getting like the wide angle view of like the venue or the reception area, I don't have that coverage, and I want to be able to deliver that type of coverage without having to rent that lens for every wedding that I shoot. So that will be my next lens investment for this year, aside from the upgrading the R and the 5D Mark IV to the R5 and R6 respectively. So look out for that. So guys, that's been my video showing you what's in my wedding bag. So if you guys like this content, feel free to subscribe, follow me on my Instagram, Star Moment Photos, and like my Facebook page as well. So guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and you guys have a great evening.